I'm on.
To everybody from Gary. Yes, probably we dropped the ball. Probably we will not follow up on the schedule. As I said before, we new to this thing, but we learned our lesson, and going forward, I would definitely follow up, and we have everything on the calendar over here. And Colleen Colleen is my bookkeeper and the record keeping, and she does a lot of different things with the restaurant. So she will follow up, so is I, and we try to do the best we can going forward. I know Gary is just sent an email about an hour ago, or maybe 45 minutes ago, and she forwarded it to everybody on board. And he indicated that he takes full responsibility for what happened. But again, I am not blaming anybody. I'm blaming myself because I didn't follow up. I didn't know anything about it. And here I am admitting that. And going forward, I promise everything's going to be much better. So that's all what I can say.
Do we have any thoughts or comments from the commission?
Hey, Mr. Chair, yeah, I got a couple. I'm reading the email I got from Gary Warren. The only thing that I agree with Bob. I mean, it had to be pumped out. When was it pumped out? If it wasn't pumped out in December, was it pumped out January, February, March?
I believe it was March.
And that's after he got notices that we didn't get the paperwork.
Hmm?
That's after the notice that we didn't receive the paperwork.
There's some paperwork that was emailed to us, I thought, that said April. Let me see if I can find it.
Well, it has our
Carly did-
and may remember this.
Mike, oh, you're pacing.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts?
Letting a dog in or out. Yeah, this is a tough one because I see Bob's point that, where, it should have been done, but I can also see, Mike's being transparent about it. I mean, he's showing what happened, and I truly believe him. So I'm torn on this, to be honest. Which way?
Mr. Chair, I agree with Mike. I mean, I don't want to. Running a business is tough today, especially after coming out of COVID, and especially with a restaurant. And I understand you can't keep on top of everything, and that's why you hire a company like Gary's to do the job. But it was just a weird timing. I mean, Gary sold his business, and when you sell businesses, stuff happens. So I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it. But Brett, what do you think?
Brett, you have any thoughts?
Well, from my personal point of view, I understand how it happened. And as Dave said, the timing with the transition in that business, I could see somebody dropping the ball there. And, Mike didn't pick up on it. And I could see how it all happened. At the same time, I agree with Barbara on her point, but yeah, it's a tough one. But I think I'm looking at it from the direction of, we could give them one bad and say, moving forward, this can't happen again. That kind of thing, and continuous transparency, and ask them to be, or demand them to be more on the ball on this, and just don't let it happen again, or it's, a guaranteed
Okay.
slap on the wrist guy.
All right, thanks. I have two hands up, and honestly, I don't know Paula or Barb, if you, who put theirs up first.
Paula's
So-
been waiting.
Okay,
I
Paula.
think they're high fiving. Is that what they're doing?
Yeah.
So I have been dealing a lot with the restaurants and grease traps since I started with the commission. And one of the issues that I have is we have stressed with all of the non-compliant establishments that we understand that it was a miscommunication with your grease trapper. And in fact, many of them were food grease trappers, or at least Asian Imperial was. And there was, you know, an understanding that they need to be on top of it. It is their responsibility as the establishment owner. And I will say that all of the other establishments that were charged the non-compliance fee, after conversations with the sewer department, opted to pay the fee. In fact, one of the establishments had actually requested the hearing and then rescinded that request and paid the non-compliance fee. So my concern is that by now saying, okay, you have one bad, we have numerous establishments that paid the fee because of non-compliance. The other thing I want to say is this was not just there were numerous emails sent to El Forno informing them that we needed the report and that the reports weren't submitted. It wasn't just he realized it after. Barb had sent, if you look at the report that was sent, there were numerous emails that were sent. So over several months. So I want to just say that it was never pumped in December, despite numerous requests to have it pumped.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Barbara?
My only add is that one of those accounts that was non-compliant and went ahead and paid, and not actually this time, but in prior times, had actually gone after the grease trap company to let them bear the cost of the annual permit, because they're the ones that had put them into non-compliance. So that's also an option. I'm with Paula that I don't want to have a precedent here. But they could also go after grease trappers and just say, hey, guys, this is on you. It's just a thought.
All right, I guess my final comment would be that I think consistency is very important from one restaurant to the next. Dave, it sounded like maybe you were going to say something.
Yeah, you know, I think that the commission here is making business decisions. This isn't nothing but business. When you have a company or a customer who is in violation, they're always welcome to come to the board. Now, if they backed out for one reason or another, that's up to them. Every case is different. So I think we're looking at Mike in his case and the whole situation as a business person, not as who's right, who's wrong. I mean, I've been in business for a lot of years too, and I've dropped the ball, but at least I had an avenue to come back and talk to someone and discuss it. And yeah, you are trying to set a precedent. You want to make sure that everybody follows their policies. And I think we stated that at the last meeting, that there's no excuse for something like this, but there's reasons. And the reason is that this company switched over to another company. So that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm not looking at it as who's in favor or whatever. I'm looking at what's right and what's wrong. And again, that's just my opinion, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I think we've had quite a bit of discussion. Is there someone who'd like to make a motion regarding this, whether to waive the non-compliance fee or not?
You know, I'll bite the bullet on this one. I put a motion out there that after looking at all the paperwork that I've seen, that I would in favor of letting it ride on this one.
Explain, please, what letting it ride.
Can you be specific and sort of
Yeah,
put it as a motion?
Don't impose any penalties.
Don't impose.
Right.
So that's your motion, to not impose any penalties for Il Forno for non-compliance?
Due to the circumstances that were described.
Sure. Does anyone want to second that?
I will second that. I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, let's take a vote. Dave?
Aye.
Mike Naltz,
Aye.
Brett Ranson,
I think I'm gonna go with an eye on this one.
okay, and I would go with nay. The majority has it, so it's been accepted.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
okay,
I just one word here. Can you hear me?
yep,
Mhm.
I really appreciate your decision, and I thank you very much. And I promise you, I'm running the business. Yes, it's my responsibility. Yes, it is, and I admit it. And going forward, I'm gonna follow up, and we already have it on the calendar in front of me, and that's what we're gonna do. And even we told them, you will not get paid unless you give me a copy of the report being filed to the town. And that's from now on going forward. That's what's gonna happen. We'll not pay them unless they follow up with the town first. And once we know the town's got the report and they get paid. And that's the deal we have with Grease Trapper. And
Okay,
that's
thank
how things going. We gotta move forward.
okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is current business. And first, under current business is the Pond View 40B. So I don't know if there's a lot of information that was provided us recently about the 40B project, because we have this ZBA meeting coming up tomorrow where the project is on the agenda. I don't know how many of you had time to read everything, but maybe the best way to do this, I know Paula and Barbara had been working kind of feverishly on this. Is one of the two of you, kind of want to give an overview summary of all the information that was sent out to the commission?
Mr. Chair, before you do that,
Sure.
can the work that Barbara and Paula did today, can that be made public now? There's no restriction why it can't, right?
It's being
Yeah,
discussed at
I
the
don't see
meeting.
why. I mean, we're giving it to the ZBA, correct?
After discussion, I mean, if
Right.
it's amended from tonight's discussion, that's what will go to the ZBA, but
Right.
at any time.
All right. So
I'm sorry, John. I
no,
apologize.
go ahead, Barbara.
Paula is on the meeting and may not be able to stay all that long, so if you don't mind, I'll pass it along to her. I just,
Okay.
we're trying to do it. You had gotten our original submittal from council, so we already have that. They know all that, and then this is a list of concerns that we now want to share in addition for the ZBA.
So, Mr. Chair, if it's okay, I'll just kind of
Yes,
run
go ahead.
through.
Go ahead,
Okay.
please.
So what I did is Barbara and I did is go through the pro forma, the application that was actually submitted. And I want to make one important distinction right now. There are two potential developments proposed, and the only one that is being dealt with by the ZBA is the 200 units. If other development goes on of single family homes, that is outside the scope of the 40B. So this particularly focuses on the 40B itself.
Right.
And obviously the biggest issue is the fact that this project is outside the sewer service area. The applicant is actually seeking a waiver to the provision of the bylaw and the sewer regulations. And this is really a question for the sewer commission. If you look at number one of the information that was sent out to you, I made a statement that the sewer commission believes town meeting approval is required and questions the authority of the ZBA to waive this requirement. So that's really a question to you, is whether or not the ZBA has the ability to waive that requirement.
From my understanding,
by
Mr.
that?
Chair, the ZBA does have that authority.
Okay, I do not know.
Well,
So,
I will point out that in the town council's letter to the HAC, he disagreed with that.
When we had our site meeting up there, we talked with the attorneys and that's what they told me when I asked that same question. But again, it was early in the game. But Paulo, I think you're right on that. What attorney sent that? Was that our attorney?
Yes, our attorney, the town
Okay.
council attorney. So I think that the statement as it stands, the sewer commission believes town meeting approval is required and questions the authority of the ZBA to waive this requirement. If the ZBA comes back with town council's input that says, yes, they have that authority, that's fine. But I think in this particular memorandum, it's just questioning, does the ZBA have that authority?
okay, so I guess maybe the best way to handle this whole thing is to go through these 11 items and
Okay.
see if we agree
Okay.
as written. Does any other member have a thought on that?
No, I agree 100%.
Okay,
Okay.
so
So the,
I just 1 second, Paul. Item 1,
Yeah.
I think we're agreeing to leave as is. So if you don't want to move on to the next one,
Do you want me to
Okay.
share screen?
I'm sorry.
You want me to share it on the screen?
That would be great.
Okay.
Just learn how to work my phone and everything in sequence here. Crap.
so I'll wait for Barb to share it.
Okay.
So the second item on the list is that it is desired that the flows go to the Leominster sewer line versus the Fitchburg as there is more capacity. So and it actually follows number 3. The John Fitch sewer line was designed for the existing and the committed capacity. As you all remember, there are 66 units committed behind Walmart. So the concern is that if we were to put it into the John Fitch sewer line, we would be over capacity.
Or if I could interrupt you there, the commission should remember that 66 houses has already been paid for. Capacity fees.
Exactly. So we have to, so it's committed capacity. So that is capacity we have to hold in reserve because it's been paid for.
Any other thoughts on the second item?
Paula, can you bring it down a little bit?
Or
Barb,
Barb has control.
Okay.
Okay, let's,
Uh,
Paula, why don't you move on to the third item?
okay, well, 2 and 3 really go together.
Right.
As I just said, the John Fitch sewer line was designed for the existing and committed capacity, including that 66 units behind Walmart. So once we have capacity committed, we cannot resell it because that is committed capacity to those individual units. So the fourth item is a question came up today as to the ability of the existing pump stations to the ability of the existing, not to determine the proposed flow, to handle the proposed flow. Because the proposed flow from this development is 40,150 gallons per day. So the question came up from Bill as to whether or not the existing pump stations can handle that type of flow. So that has to be evaluated.
Right, and that would be if it goes via Leominster, because say don't think there'd be any pump stations going by way of Fitchburg, correct?
That's a Barb question.
Well, yeah, and that it all depends on the topography of the route. So I'm
Well, I
not
mean,
sure.
with the existing, if the project is connected to Fitchburg, are there any pump stations already existing between the point where they would hook up and where it goes into the Fitchburg line?
Correct. No,
Okay,
no.
so the issue, yeah, okay,
But Mr. Chair, there is, if you take the direct line and bring it down Chase Road over
Yeah.
to Mass Ave, now we know there's ledge there where the gas station is. it may require a pump station somewhere around there if you're gonna go to Fitchburg. But our recommendation would not go to Fitchburg with any of these flows, period.
I agree. I agree.
But I would
Um,
also think an engineer would have to be telling us that, Paula. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And if,
Oh.
as we go further down, you'll see that.
Okay.
I have a
Um,
question.
Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me that we would have to add at least one pump station for this. My question though is, first of all, if we're at capacity with Fitchburg and have to go to Leominster, how are we connecting to the Leominster line? Are we coming through town near the municipal building that way and trying to catch it at the bottom of the hill over there? What's our plan there? You know, near the center of town, is it gonna flow right through the center of town to get over to Leominster? And I
Right,
know an engineer would still have to be involved here to figure these things out, but that's a long way
Right,
to go.
I think, you know, ultimately, only an engineer could answer that, but if we were to go to Leominster, I sort of assume it would cross over Beale Street.
Right.
right. And pick up the Mass Ave line.
Yes, and pick up the Mass Ave line. Just, you know, sort of in front of the fire department there.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, yeah.
Okay. Any more discussion on item 4?
I have another question. How far, I haven't had the time to be on planning board meetings of any kind and follow up here. How far along is this 40B project? Is it starting to look like something that's going to be approved and not much we can all do about it either way when it comes to the planning board?
It's,
Well-
the planning board is not involved.
Oh, they're
It's the
not.
zoning board of appeals.
Okay, I was a little confused by that whole process there.
Primarily, the zoning board starts to do public meetings. I think it's tomorrow night, Barb, Paula?
Correct.
So
Right.
ZBA.
this is the one of many meetings to start, but the sewer commission and everybody here is concerned about getting our information out so that everyone's on the same page. So far, so good on this report, guys. Very good job.
And I think what's something we're going to have to press upon everyone is that, you know, when the sewer commission is talking about maybe the town of Lunenburg, we're really only talking about just under 900 sewer users. No, we're not talking about all the taxpayers in town. But anyway, go ahead, Paul, with item 5.
Okay, one of the things, and I just want to back up a little bit to Brett's question. The way a 40B works is it's called a comprehensive permit, and this will not come directly to the sewer commission. All of the reviewing and all of the input from the departments has to go through the zoning board of appeals because they are the permitting authority. So that is why getting input to the ZBA is so important, because basically it waives the approvals of other departments. The zoning board of appeals is the sole approving authority. So number 5 is pointing out that there are connection fees that the Lunenburg Sewer Department is required to pay to the city receiving the flow in accordance with the intermunicipal agreements. So, and I make a statement in number 5 is that the connection fee charged by the sewer commission covers these costs and the maintenance and operational costs of the town of Lunenburg. So we pay a fee, but then we also have to run the department. So it's important to make sure that they're aware that these connection fees are not optional.
Okay. Anyone have any comment on item 6? Item 5, sorry. No, okay.
Regarding what Paula just said, sounds like we could use a little more analysis on cost.
Well, you'll
On our
see
end.
that I did a preliminary cost estimate, and you'll see that further down when we get there.
Yeah, I did take a look at that earlier.
Okay.
I appreciate that. Just,
Okay, thanks, Brett.
Okay.
Paula, go ahead.
Okay, so number 6 makes the point that Leominster or Fitchburg has to approve any project of this size per the intermunicipal agreements with the town. And one of the questions that I had is how and when the other municipalities become involved. Because it's a requirement that they have to okay and any development of this size.
And that would be a question, Mr. Chair, that I'd be asking Fitchburg or Leominster to start sending them information and let them know what we're up against here in Lunenburg.
Right, I think probably now is a good time to start that. Barbara, obviously you have the contacts for that, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Now, I could see Fitchburg and Leominster saying, we really don't care as long as you have your capacities. But I can also see them saying, but we're not going to give you any discounts either. So that's what I like to know.
right,
And they don't have to.
correct. Okay. Item 7, Paula?
Okay, item 7, Barb and I both struggled with. So the regulations state, and it's in quotes in number 7, for all new connections to the municipal sewer where proposed flows exceed 15,000 gallons per day, the proponent must remove 4 gallons of I&I for every gallon per day of wastewater flow to be discharged. If there are not sources of I&I, which at the discretion of the commission are appropriate for removal at the time of the permit, a monetary fee may be required. So Barb and I are struggling with how to determine what that monetary fee is and how to calculate that. And you'll see that later in the spreadsheet on the second page is that column is blank because quite frankly, I'm not clear on what this means.
But Dave, you've been around a while with sewer. Do you have any knowledge of that?
Yeah, let's keep on going down when we get
Okay.
to it in the bottom part.
All right, Paula, number 8.
So I just make the point that a peer review of the proposed sewer lines and the associated appurtenances is going to be required for the project, and the associated costs are the responsibility of the applicant. Because as you'll see in number 10, that's one of the concerns is they don't include in their application any fees for that.
Okay, 9, Paula?
9 is very similar. In talking to Barb, a project of this size would require a resident engineer for oversight of the project and inspections as the installation occurs. And that cost again would be borne by the applicant.
Okay. Do you want to address item 10, the financial concerns?
Yep. So in going through the list of costs, if you look through the application and go through line by line of what they included as projected costs for the development, their total cost for the development is just over $59 million. And one of the concerns that came forward is that they did not appear to include appropriate fees for various items. And so if you look at the first row in item 10 is utilities off-site, and that's all encompassing because they don't separate sewer versus water versus electric, et cetera. The total project cost is estimated at $4 million. So if you look at the extension of sewer alone is going to exceed this estimate. If you take into account the cost of running the line, the cost of pump stations, the cost of connection fees, we're going to be well over that $4 million mark just for sewer alone. So I just want the ZBA to be aware that this is an item that $4 million is quite simply not going to cover.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I think what we're doing here, and Paula and Bob, let me know if I'm stepping out of line here, but right now they came up with projected costs of what things are going to cost them, and that was done probably 6 months to a year ago. So that's what they have. We all know just by running the sewer what things are going to cost. Now, we're going to say this is what it is because it's fact, but they're going to come back and probably say, well, we're gonna go back and re-engineer it. So I don't know where it goes from that point. So for example, if they go to engineered, actual engineering, they find out it's gonna cost, say, $7 million to run sewer up there, are they still gonna do it? And Barbara and Paul, am I correct on saying it that way?
Right. I just want to flag to the ZBA that
Right.
the extension of the sewer line, the pump stations, that this is going to be a very costly endeavor. And I just want the applicant to know that up front. And this is really information that I want to funnel to the ZBA to eventually get back to the applicant, because I'm sure the applicant is going to request a copy of whatever is submitted to the ZBA.
Right.
I think the ZBA has to understand that our numbers are probably more accurate than theirs, but do not use their numbers as an actual, because it's not.
Right.
Right. If you look at the column, and I don't know if you have the newest one, you might not, you might have one I sent earlier. The second column now reads applicant's projected cost, and the third column now reads notes and concerns. Oh, you do have it up there. So this is what they're projecting, and we're saying we're concerned about this because the extension of the sewer alone is going to exceed this estimate.
Right. If some of you might remember when we met with Wright Pierce regarding the Upland project, I asked what their estimate for gravity systems is per mile. Okay, and at the time, they said 1.5 million per mile, and that was without any pump stations. The only thing that is going to be clarified by Wright Pierce, and we're hoping to get that information tomorrow, right, Paula and Barb?
Right.
Yes.
They're going to give us a number, hopefully, that is what it would be cost to lay the sewer line, and then what it would cost for sewer line and paving. So we should have a better number, hopefully, tomorrow before the meeting. And that, I mean, that doesn't include water either, so.
So just a heads up to the ZBA and to the applicant that $4 million is not going to be sufficient.
Right. And it just additional information, I asked about cost of pump stations. A large pump station like Leominster or the large Mass Ave between 1 and 1.5 million, you know, a smaller one, perhaps 750,000. So there's a lot of cost out there that's definitely not represented in the project plan.
Mr. Chair, if I could,
Yep.
would it be worthwhile to have Barbara and Paula talk with Wright Pierce as far as giving us their projections of what it would cost in today's world to run a sewer line from that location to wherever they want to connect it?
I think
Yeah,
we'd have to
I don't,
contact-
I'm sorry, go ahead, Barbara.
I was just, we'd have to contract with them for some consultant contract, I would think at this point. That would be quite a bit.
Right.
And
Oh, go ahead.
one comment that I have is that's why making sure that the peer review has to be borne by the applicant. Because those costs, the sewer commission should not have to pay for. It should be costs that the applicant pays for. So we should be able to hire a peer reviewing firm, the sewer commission, to review the sewer plans.
Well, absolutely. We talked about that tonight, Paula. But my question, this is what I'm saying. We're going to be probably talking with the ZBA, I would think. Mr. Chair, you'd probably be giving a speech there, right? Or an opportunity to speak.
Probably.
Wouldn't it be worthwhile? And I would vote to spend the money to have Wright Pierce there as your consultant, so they can ask any technical questions the ZBA has, because the ZBA is pretty smart board in this town, and they probably want all the information they could get. By having a Wright Pierce representative there would make sense to me, which I would pay for as an hourly rate.
Are you suggesting trying to have someone there for tomorrow night?
If that's when we speak as far as the sewer commission, are we on tomorrow night or? Don't know.
Tomorrow, we don't know how, tomorrow night's probably going to be the preliminary discussion. I'm assuming this will go on for months. But as to how it works with input from various departments, honestly, I'm not sure.
Do you think someone can find out, Bob or Paula? Can you make a phone call tomorrow? I mean, I know we're not invited for tomorrow night. Well, I guess we are invited because we're public, but it's a public meeting. They start public meetings tomorrow, is that if I'm not mistaken?
Right.
Right.
But I don't think
Wonder-
Mike Pierce would have any chance of being prepared for that. It's quite a substantial
Oh,
project.
no, I'm not saying tomorrow, but when we do make our stance, and we will, that's for sure, somewhere along the way.
Maybe it would be enough for tomorrow night for John to make it very clear that their utility expectation of costs is dramatically out of line just for sewer alone, and just
Right.
get the point out there on the meeting tomorrow and take it, work with Wright Pierce in the future for further meetings and be far more detailed after that.
Right, I agree. Tomorrow night, if we have the opportunity, would be to impress upon them our concerns about the costs, and that this plan doesn't represent what we believe are the true costs. And I would have no problem, as Dave suggested, getting Wright Pierce on board to have discussion with us about what they think this might cost. Anything from anyone else on that?
I'd just like to say, first of all, Bob, Paula, excellent job on this. Brings up a lot of good points. I'm pretty much online with the whole thing. I think by adding this in, that, that this last little line on the utilities offsite kind of brings that point that, they're not putting enough aside, and I'm sure there'll be questions down the road. And when that happens, I kind of agree with David that when that happens, I think it's not a bad idea to have, somebody from Wright Pierce or something there to just strengthen our argument, I guess. That's all.
Okay.
The only
Any
thing I
other
would add is give them a heads up sooner than later, maybe get them working on.
Right, well, hopefully, Wright Pierce will get back to you tomorrow, Barb or Paula, with the cost per mile. And at that time, could you just sort of give them a heads up that we might be talking to them about additional work on this?
Sure.
Okay. Paula, the next item.
So the next item basically reiterates some of the above statements, but in their documentation, they have $0 allocated for an inspecting engineer, which obviously is not going to be realistic. A resident engineer is going to be required. So obviously there's going to be a cost associated with that. The other consultant, they appropriated $280,000 for other consultants, but that doesn't take into account the peer review, and specifically a peer review of the sewer design is going to be required. So just calling out that $280,000 is not likely to be sufficient.
Paula, do you remember the last major sewer project, I guess, was the Upland Rainy project?
That's a Barb question.
Yeah, Barb, do you recall what the peer review cost was for that? I mean, I'm talking how many thousands, not a specific number, just.
I
you
don't
there?
recall. It's been a while since we did it. I can research that.
I think this would probably be a more extensive project.
Right. And if other, there are any other departments in town, I feel as if we shared the peer reviewing engineer with other departments when we did it, but I'll see what the cost was.
Okay,
Right, that's the other component, is that you're gonna need, I would assume other departments are gonna want peer reviews as well. Conservation, for example, planning board, they're gonna want to have an opportunity to have a reviewer take a look at the plans. And whether or not $280,000 is sufficient, remains to be seen, but just expressing the concern, a peer review of the sewer design is gonna be required.
right.
Roads and walkways, the next line, there's $600,000 allocated for roads and walkways. And I'm assuming, and this is an assumption, is that that's only the roads and walkways within the development. And it doesn't appear to take into account the repaving of the existing roadways following disruption. As you guys all know, there's a bylaw in town that requires the road to be put in place in the state it was prior to disruption or better. And I'm quite sure after my experience on the MPO that $600,000 is not going to be sufficient for that.
Okay,
Next thing is survey permits, et cetera. And this one's an important one. They have $160,000 allocated for surveys and permits. And this is where I make the point about the connection fees. There are current connection costs to connect the Lunenburg sewer system. Significant portions of these fees are paid to Leominster or Fitchburg as required by the intermunicipal agreement. And then there is a sheet that goes along with that to outline what we anticipate the connection fees to be, which far exceed $160,000 for permits.
okay,
The committed capacity, which is number 11. As we talked about earlier, there are properties that paid for a betterment, and that is committed capacity. We do not have legally the ability to resell that because it's already been purchased. So Barbara and I were looking at that today and haven't finished going through it, but identifying what capacity is committed versus what is available is going to have to be done.
okay,
And then the final item is the connection fees. And, I mean, I'm new to this, so Barb and I kind of looked at it and hopefully I got it right. Is the table indicates the number of bedrooms and the number of units associated with the number of bedrooms. And the reason that they're broken out from market to affordable is how they're listed in the proposal. So obviously the ones that are listed at market is normal market value, and then the units that are affordable are identified as such. And then the next column indicates the total number of bedrooms. So there are a total of 365 bedrooms proposed in this project. The Lunenburg connection fee is the number of units times 2,250. So the proposed project cost for that, for the connection fee, would be $450,000. The number of the sewer bank fee is based on the number of bedrooms times 110 gallons per day, which is the Title V number, times 2. So that would be $80,300. The reserve capacity fee is based on the number of bedrooms times 110 times $1.87, which comes to $75,080.50. The privilege fee is half of the latest betterment, which is $13,997.47 times the number of units, which comes out to $1.399,747,747, excuse me. The next column, the II fee TBD, as I stated, I'm not quite sure how to calculate that, or whether we're going to have to contact Wright Pierce to determine how we calculate that, or, Barb and I are unclear. So the total Lunenburg fees without the I&I fee comes to over $2 million, as you can see on the bottom, $2,005,127.50.
Yeah, I think this is where we are vulnerable.
Mhm.
This is where, if I were their attorneys, would be attacking this. This is what they were probably going to try to waive, in my opinion. But this is legit. Anything that leaves here is a loss to the town of Lunenburg. sewer commission.
Right.
Correct. And if it's that total 2 million, we'd be in a little bit of trouble.
Well, you know what, if this happens to go through the way it is, they're gonna have to understand that that's gonna bankrupt the sewer department as it is. Right now,
Exactly.
our bank has, our retained earnings is about, well, it's obviously less than that. But our projections to come to even close to that, I think is what, another 5 years, Barbara, before our retained earnings get to be in that kind of number range?
Sorry. I've
It's gonna
been
be,
cleaning
it's gonna be a
paper.
while.
Yes. It
So-
takes a little while, 4 years or so before retained earnings is.
So any dime that we have to pay for this project comes out of our retained earnings, and it could bankrupt the sewer commission or sewer department.
So I think you may want to add that statement to the end of this, and I would recommend that the commission come up with some wording as to stress the importance of how, you know, the sewer, and John, I think you said it best, is that the sewer department does not consist of the entire town. It's a very small portion of the town, and and it is self-funding. And that there is not the ability for the sewer department to cover these costs. And I think that's a really important point to make.
Agreed.
Is everyone in agreement with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I think
Absolutely.
Paula's idea of adding some wording to that fact might be a good idea for, you know, have item 13, although 13 might be a suspicious number.
Mr. Chair, if I could,
Yep.
is there, if we ask Bill's opinion, has he ever run into this before? He's a man of the world here, our DPW director.
Yeah, Bill, please feel free.
So no, this is new to me. But what Paula and Barbara put together makes perfect sense, and yeah, we need the ZBA to know where we're coming from.
Now, this has nothing to do with water. Has anybody talked with the water department at all? No,
I have not, no.
Barb?
I-
I haven't either.
Me either.
Okay,
It weren't. Well, I don't know what the facts are. But I know the number to pay for putting water out there is pretty expensive. I think there was a number floating around sometime, but I don't want to hazard a guess as to what it is.
I guess what I'm saying, Mr. Chair, is that the water department is going through the same thing that we are, I'm sure.
I would certainly hope so. But yeah, I can try to find that out. What they're looking at for numbers.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I just want to thank Barbara and Paula, and I think Paula has a meeting tonight, don't you, Paula?
I'm actually in my car pulling out of my driveway for the next one. Yes.
Good luck tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
If it's
you,
okay,
Paula.
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna drop off.
Yes, thank you for all you did.
Okay, thank you.
All right, getting back to some wording to add to this, to express our concern that, you know, any amount that we lose in any of these fees is going to have to be subsidized by the sewer commission, sewer department. Anyone have any suggestions?
I would say let's give this a little bit of thought and clear our heads a little bit, but the wording's got to be strong. That this will affect our bottom line of the operations of the sewer department. Any losses in revenues from connection fees and all the other good things you had on there is going to come off our bottom line,
Okay,
which jeopardizes our retained earnings over the last 20 years.
we're talking about getting this document into the hands of the ZBA for the meeting tomorrow, correct? We all agree with that?
Yes,
Okay. So either we'll need to come up with some wording tonight, or maybe Barbara and I could, I don't know what your schedule's like tomorrow, Barbara, but.
Better than it was today.
So does anyone on the commission have anything specifically or how they want to see this worded?
kind of like what I just said, you know, it affects our bottom line and is in jeopardy of bankrupting the, if this gets approved, this will definitely bankrupt the sewer commission or sewer department.
Well, if it's approved and any of these fees are waived,
Yes,
okay. Jane, you have that in your notes that Barbara and I can look at tomorrow?
I do.
Some of it.
Yeah, I have some of it. I have some of it too.
again, this will be our
Okay.
first, that's our first meeting tomorrow, Mr. Chair, so it's not as long as it's out there, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay, so, all right, so Barbara and I can maybe work on something that either will be added to this document before it goes there, or maybe I'll just have to bring it up if I have the opportunity to talk to them tomorrow. So this document, as put together by Barb and Paula, as we went through it, I didn't hear anything that we want to change other than adding something to the end, either by me saying it tomorrow or possibly adding it to the document itself. So do we want to, I don't know if we need to vote on this or
No, but I do recommend we add it to the document and send that document to all department heads. So we're all on the same page, including the select board.
okay.
And good work by everybody, Bill, Bob, Paula, and this commission. I mean, it's time to circle the wagons, I guess.
So Barb, do you have any time tomorrow morning or not?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll call you tomorrow morning.
Okay, sounds good.
You know, you should meet John at pancake breakfast from being held from 8 to 11 at the senior center.
There you go.
Yeah,
Tickets are available.
okay. I guess we can move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a special town meeting. Barbara sent out.
I did send it out, Joan,
Yeah.
but now I've just updated it and removed the one for Lou Franco's submittal.
Right,
So
right.
If you don't object, I will share the
Yes,
current
please.
document.
I printed it. I can't put my hand on it right now.
Nope. So this, oops, oh, sorry. Ooh, we lost Brett for a moment. No, we'll get him back. This is what currently I have on for our proposed articles. And it's the two stabilization funds. I don't have anything else, and I haven't heard it from anyone that we needed another article on there. So this is what I have to date, and it's the two stabilization funds that we collect the money for during when there's a connection permit received, reserve capacity and inflow infiltration. And when the monies aren't spent for that purpose, we're putting it back into the stabilization fund for such time as we may need it. So I do have, mostly it's just, I have the backup as to how those numbers, but it is primarily what was collected. Reserve capacity, we collected 1645, 60, and we transferred over, if you recall, at town meeting, the amount that we needed for the Fitchburg debt service on the John Fitch Highway. And that was it was a wash because we transferred in what we expected. So 1645.60 is what I propose to just put back into stabilization. And that is the capacity charges in case Fitchburg or Leominster do have to come back and bill us for additional capacity that we have a stabilization fund. And we've been, we collect reserve capacity fees for anyone that applies for a connection that has not yet been bettered. They are billed for the privilege fee, but then we also collect $1.87 per bedroom to put towards other capacity charges that we may encounter. And then the sewer bank is the Article 2, the inflow infiltration. We collected 9,900. The inflow infiltration expenses that we had in FY22 were encumbered, so there weren't new ones. So I proposed putting that 9,900 into the inflow infiltration account for such time as we may need it.
Okay, thanks, Barbara.
Yep.
Anyone have any questions regarding those two articles?
No, when does the warrant close?
It closes September 20th. I've got to get them into Heather by the 20th.
Okay, so this is our last meeting before warrant closes.
Yes.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I have no problem if you want to vote on it.
Yeah, I'd like to see someone make a motion to perhaps accept these two articles as written to be put into the warrant.
Make a motion to accept these two articles as written.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, let's take a roll call vote. Mike Nault. Oh, I guess I should say any further discussion first. All right, seeing none. Mike Nault,
Aye again.
Dave McDonald,
Aye.
Brett
Aye.
Ramsey,
Aye.
and I for myself. The motion passes.
Mr. Chair, could Barbara take the article off the screen? For some reason, mine's showing the little article on mine. There you go. Thank you.
There we go. All right, next item on the agenda is the ARPA proposal. Bill had put together a package for pump stations and manholes, and send it off to town hall. They've asked it to be put into a particular format. Am I getting that right, Barb and Bill?
And Bill's working to do that. But
And then it was suggested that perhaps some money for I&I be added to that.
Great.
So Barbara, why don't you take it from there?
Sure.
Or Bill?
Yep, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly when it came about. I know it may have been a suggestion from Dave that we look at lining the laterals in areas that we expect inflow infiltration. So I had been recently conversing with Jake Fleming of Leominster on collaborating on that effort. So he had mentioned that Wright Pierce was involved with them in the planning of it. They are not ready to do it at this point. So we just reached out to Wright Pierce to get potential costs on that project. And that's where it stands. So as soon as we get it from Wright Pierce, I'm hoping, Bill, if you want to add it to our submittal for the ARPA to Heather, which is due by the end of the month on the 30th, we can add that to our proposed cost. But I guess it hasn't really gone before the full commission, if I'm not correct. So we could just verify that it's okay that we're working with Wright Pierce to get a cost and that we may add it to our ARPA submittal.
Yep. I don't have any issues working with Wright Pierce to come up with a number for that. Any input from the rest of the board?
Mr. Chair,
Sounds
my
like it. Go for it, Dave. You first, Dave.
My only concern was one, well, I got a couple. One is, can we see a copy of what was sent to town manager? I didn't see a copy of the opera proposals from the sewer department.
It was sent on August 12th, that it was copied to you. Now she wants it in a different format. We have not resent it yet. So
When
you have the original, I
August
think.
12th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should have that, but we don't, the reformatted isn't done yet.
Is it
We have
broken
to
up
the end of
by sewer covers and maintenance issues or just one lump sums?
It was the 200,000 for the manholes, 300,000 towards pump stations.
Is she asking for more of a breakdown or is the commission going to ask more?
Bill, do you want to speak to that?
No, they're not asking for a breakdown. More, what were the questions? It's more background questions and yeah,
Explaining it.
yeah, it's more to explain where the money's going to be used and yeah.
And I think to make the proposals from all the different departments compatible so that it can be reviewed similarly.
I just wanted to be clear that when the sewer commission or when the sewer department came online, we all know they had problems with the installation of the sewer. There's a lot of issues that has nothing to do with the sewer commission or the business. It is the way it is. To get this fixed under normal conditions could cost the sewer commission a lot of money. The ARC money kind of helps us try to fix up some of these problems without dipping into our reserve capacity funds to try to fix it. So I would stress that to the selectmen or who's ever going to be approving these funds. These funds are just part of what's going on in the town. Every department is going to be asking for this money. It's not just 3 or 4 departments, it's everybody. So we really have to get our message out there that the I&I problem is very serious. It's costing a lot of money for not only us, but for Leominster as well. The maintenance of the sewer covers, I think, was part of our budgets as far as things that are controlled by the sewer commission today. But as far as extra pump stations and stuff, Bill, I think you and I talked about that's kind of important too, to have that kind of money reserved to handle those situations. So I think we have to look at it from a business point of view that this wasn't our fault. This happened from poor installation, and it's got to be rectified because it's not costing us $1. It's costing us thousands of dollars of every year of this I&I. So that's it, Mr. Chair.
All right, so Dave, are you? Yes, I think I&I should be added to it. Absolutely. Are you saying you think the I&I should be the priority?
To get this money.
3 items. Are you saying that maybe one of these should be eliminated and focus more on I&I?
I think to get this money I don't think if it was me, I don't think I would give you money for sewer covers. That's part of the day-to-day operations. I would definitely give you money for I&I because it's costing the town residents money that an item can't be fixed. It's got to be fixed in association with some sort of a grant that we talked about or working with Leominster. We know where the problems are in I&I, and it's over in the Wayland district. We know it has to get fixed one way or the other. I also like to see some of the money spent towards the meat of the business, which is our pump stations and generators. You know, those are the important things that we can use. And again, if I had to forfeit one, yeah, I would forfeit the sewer covers. My opinion, though. No offense, Bill. I'm not trying to. I'm just saying, looking at the big picture over the last few years.
Mr. Chair, point of clarification,
Sure.
the manhole repairs are I&I repairs. They're not just covers.
No, we understand that. We know some of them had to be rebuilt. And we also know that on, especially Mass Ave, because it's a state highway, when they were installed, they were faulty to begin with. But we would never get an opportunity to fix this I&I as much as it is in the Wayland district, though. But you're right. I understand that.
So Dave, are you suggesting perhaps having 2 categories, pump stations and I&I, and is sort of a subset of I&I is manholes?
Maybe Bill can put both the lining in and manhole covers into one category.
Yeah,
That's a good point too.
so
Make
Mike,
it part of the INI.
Yes.
Mike or Brett, any thoughts on that?
My only,
Go ahead.
my
Go
only
for it,
thought,
Mike.
go ahead, Brett, or you? I guess my only thought is, do we prioritize like the list? For in other words, if you're gonna cut something, cut this, or do we just go for it all?
That's a good question. I don't know exactly how the process is going to work, but I had that same thought. I mean, if there's a way for us to prioritize it, I think it would be to our benefit.
If I was a town manager, I'd be asking for a breakdown of what you're gonna do with the money. That's what I would do. But don't know what the new format is.
Yep. Bill, any thoughts?
So my original thought was let's submit 3 separate projects and we should prioritize them.
When you say projects, can you explain that, Bill?
Yeah, so originally it was the manhole I&I repairs. And then the second project would be pump house upgrades. And now a third project would be the lateral lining project in the Whalum area.
Okay, well, maybe is there a way to, I think it was, I don't remember who said it at this point, but have 2 categories and have the manhole I&I part of the overall I&I in the Whalum district.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Just, if you're putting it as 2 proposals, 50-50. If you're putting it as 3 proposals and you get 2 out of 3, you're ahead of the game. Just my opinion.
Some logic there.
You can't.
You've lost
If I-
1/3 of the money instead of 50% of the money.
You don't put all your eggs in one basket there, buddy. That's good.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I think part of it, something that's rolling through my head is if I'm on the select board and I'm thinking about prioritizing for any commission or entity in town, I'm thinking what's going to affect the bottom line for our constituents and neighbors and town overall long term. And I gotta say, Dave might be onto something with the INI, stressing that particular point, that's costing the commission quite a bit of money, very large sums of money every single year, and that eventually that could hurt the town overall. And make that sort of clear in the wording on that. I still agree. I kind of like what Mike is saying about having, putting it in 3 might be a good idea, but possibly stressing the 2 most important being the I&I and the pump station work. That those would very likely affect the town in the future financially overall, even if it's through mostly our customers.
Right. Okay. But as Bill said, what he's thinking of for manhole work is, I&I work. That it is different than the I&I we're talking about over in the Whalum area. So I guess we have to make a decision here. Do we want Bill to have this broken down into 3 projects and prioritize them? I think I'm kind of hearing that from the group.
Can I interject something, John?
Yep, please do.
You don't mind, I'm gonna just, and if you don't mind, Bill, I'm gonna just share Heather's, the form. It doesn't, I've been trying to look at it. It doesn't really help with prioritization. I think they're gonna be submitted as you may state it in the comments area, but you've got name, email, project title, description of the project, category, type of spending, one-time expenditure, total estimated cost, fiscal year you expect to get it done. Does it require, additional work? Is there other available funding? And then identify funding, and that's really it. So it really does level.
Not a lot to it.
Yeah. So I just want to show you that.
Are you restricted in the content you can add in those boxes, or is there, you able to put several sentences in each box?
Bill's done the first one. Bill?
I put it together as a Word document. I haven't put it into the form yet, but on question number 4, I have 5 paragraphs. So I'm hoping we can put something significant in there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
that's positive. I'm just wondering if we could add some urgency in the wording on certain lines. See what I mean?
Yes, yeah. So question number 4 asks who the main beneficiaries are. Mostly it's the 900 or so users. But like Brett was saying, it's also ultimately it could be that all the taxpayers in town, if we have to start rebuilding pump houses and whatnot.
All right, so I guess we're sort of still in the same spot here. Do we do this as 3 projects or 2?
Yeah, I'd say go with 3.
And how, Bill, what were you thinking for an amount for this 3rd project, I&I? Or Dave, you seem to have put a lot of thought into this. What were you thinking of an amount, either one of you?
Well, we spoke with Wright Pierce today about that, and
Right.
they're going to come up with a number for us
Okay.
to line all the clay pipes in the Whalum area.
On public property.
On public property, yeah.
Correct.
Now, Leominster had, in fact, that's where we talked about it with, who's the guy from Leominster, Bob, we met with a couple years ago?
Jake Plummer.
Well, Roger
No.
Brooks is.
Roger
Oh, yeah.
But
Roger.
he's moved on. So it's Jake
Yeah.
Fleming, who is our current contact.
But Roger, when we talked about it, it sounded like he knew where every leak was. I mean, he was a pretty knowledgeable guy.
Oh, yeah.
A very nice guy too, by the way. So he's the one that said, let's go out and get a grant together and try to get this problem solved. But other things happened. COVID hit, I think, Barb, if I'm not mistaken.
So, all right, so I'm going to try to summarize here. If I'm wrong, someone will let me know. We'd like Bill to go with 3 projects, and they are waiting to hear for some kind of number from Wright Pierce. And let's see, this has to be in by the 30th, and the next meeting is when?
27.
Which is not a lot of time, but
But if we have to have a quick meeting to okay this, I don't have a problem with that. A 10-minute.
yeah,
meeting.
I wouldn't either. So let's see what Wright Pierce has for a number. It sounded like they get it pretty quick. They understand the urgency, right, Barbara and Bill?
They
Yeah.
did, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And yeah,
Mr. Chair, you can go online too on YouTube and I looked at how it's done and it gave you estimated cost per square footage or linear footage and stuff. But if you guys get a chance, go on YouTube and punch in sewer linings and you'll see how it's done. It's pretty cool.
It is. I had to, I was on a project for a church and they did exactly this. Their sewer line went under the building and they didn't want to dig up the basement. So anyway, so what I'm hearing is we'd like to have 3 projects and we'll wait until Wright Pierce comes back with the number to see how much we add to the total amount for the sewer department.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, and I don't think it's something we need to take a vote on.
Nope.
Okay, Barbara, grease traps.
Grease traps. We have one, well, we have one outstanding annual permit and payment. And that's Andy Crossroads. He's communicated with us, says it's in the mail, says he sent it, says everything, but we've never received it. So I would like to request that the commission vote to start the non-compliance process, invoice him for the $50 non-compliance fee, and give him 30 days. And then we would go $25 per day back to August 10th when the permit was due, if you're so inclined.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, I'm not familiar with A&D Crossroads.
That is Crossroads Plaza. This is the external interceptor behind Ixtapa and Dario's.
Is that the landlord of the
Yeah.
mall?
yes,
Mr. Chair, I recommend that we send out the notices for Barbara's, for the business manager's request to A&D Crossroads.
does anyone want to second that?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's take a vote. Mike Nault,
Aye.
Brett Ramsden,
Aye.
Dave McDonald,
Aye.
and I for myself. So motion.
All right. We had one other outstanding from August 10th, but he did get it in just yesterday, so we're good. Ixtapa is also late, so I just want to give you the heads up that we'll continue to try to get him to submit the permit. But on the meeting of 9/27, I will endeavor to do the same if the paperwork is not received.
Are we talking external grease traps for the stopper? or-
Internal, yes.
Internal, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, they Ixtapa and Daria's share an external grease trap,
Correct,
but they both have their own internal grease traps.
correct.
I presume everything flows to that big external tank, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's two rungs, I'll make it right up there. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Barb, next.
All right, first Tuesday reports. I believe we're all set. Presto Pizza had been closed the month of August, so theirs was delayed. I need to check. Paula's been kind of taking on the grease trap administration. And August logs mostly in just had 2 outstanding. I think actually 1 came in, so we have 1 outstanding. So not bad. We will follow up and get them in. So just so you know.
Okay,
Right.
the next item, Barbara, is yours.
I know. Well, I have reconsidered the going out on retirement as of basically the first of the year. And for now, I'm going to delay it as long as everybody allows me to retract my original request. I did send copies. Not sure I sent the copy to all, did I? I hope I did. But it has been sent to HR and to the town manager and to you all. So if that is okay with you, status quo.
Any comments from the members?
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, you
Really?
know, like.
Sorry,
You thought you were gone. Jeez.
I
What
can.
am I gonna do? What am I gonna do with the gift? Jeez.
Welcome back, Barbara.
Thanks, Brett.
We'll give her the gift anyways. How's that?
Yeah,
Mr. Chair, to make this legal, I suggest we take a vote on it, that we accept Barbara's position.
Her rescinding of her retirement,
Yes.
or she's not rescinding it, she's moving the effective date. So if someone wants to make a motion to that,
I'll make a motion to that. And that we cancel the vote to Barbara retire and rescind that, if I worded that correctly.
how's that wording sound, Barbara?
No, I don't know if you ever voted on it, so you can't cancel it. But
Oh,
Right,
Okay.
right.
tweak that a
to
little,
allow
Jane,
her
please.
retraction of her retirement request. How's that?
Well, I'm
like-
not even, go ahead, Dave.
I like that.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the motion.
So be it. Yep. So say,
That's it.
Second,
And Barbara said it. That's my
Yeah.
motion.
what she said.
I will second that.
Okay, any further discussion?
Can we put a timeline on
Oh,
Sure.
Barbara, will-
you know, we could make
Sorry,
it
Barbara.
easier. We
Sorry,
could make
Barbara,
it
you
easier
stuck
and
with
say, we're gonna delay Barbara's party. We could do that.
yeah. Okay.
You want the vote?
Yeah, I guess we're done discussing it. So Mike Knoll,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye. Thank you, Barb.
and I for myself.
Yeah,
All right,
thank you, Barbara.
you,
Welcome back, Bob.
welcome back. You're
Thank
stuck
you
with
all.
us.
Sorry, it was just combination of several things made me go, "Ooh,
You-
not so
You are a sucker for punishment, aren't you?
good."
You just like working
Someone
with
has to
John.
say it.
You just don't want to leave John. That's all.
I know.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Barb, thanks a lot. We appreciate it. You know we do. Okay, you've got 2 minutes from 2 meetings to remove. Let's see, we have to make sure we have the right people here.
Yes, we do.
So the minutes from August 9th would be me, Brett, and Mike Knoll. So if one of you wants to make a motion to accept those minutes from August 9th,
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from August 9th.
and Brett, you want to second that?
I'd love to second that.
Any discussion? Seeing none, let's take a vote. Mike,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
and I for myself. Now, the minutes from 8:30, let's see, that would be myself, Dave, Brett, and Mike, so we can all vote on this. So if someone wants to make a motion,
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from August 9th. August 30th. Excuse me.
Okay. Anyone want to second that?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, let's take a vote. Mike Nault,
Aye.
Brett Ramsden,
Aye.
Dave McDonald,
Aye.
and I for myself. The minutes are accepted.
Mr. Chair, if I could say, Jane, thank you very much. You've done a nice job on those minutes.
Yes, she
Jane
does.
does a nice job
You're welcome.
for every meeting. Thank you, Jane. All right, business managers report.
Sure. First off, I just need to correct a discussion on last meeting when I was not present. Paula was filling in for me and did an awesome job, but I just need to make sure it's clear. The 17 Highland Street privilege fee, when we apportion or when we assess a privilege fee, because the debt is over 20 years from the initial assessment of the betterment, privilege fees apportionments are only up to 10 years. So the 17 Highland apportionment was for 10 years. The year did not enter into the motion or the vote, but I just wanted to clarify it for the record that it was a 10-year apportionment period.
Okay, thank you.
All right. 34 Northfield is a new lot, new construction sewer connection. And there has been some going back and forth with this one. There is a potential, we're looking to get a possible request for an easement because 34 Northfield lot, when it was subdivided, they were unaware that the sewer from 44 Northfield entered on through the property. We've contacted both the owner of 44, the owner of 34. They're working together. There is the intent that we will get a waiver request that nicely allows for 44 Northfield to be allowed to have the sewer cross into 34's property. Is otherwise, and considering the undue hardship portion of the waiver, the 44 Northfield, which has been connected to sewer since '05, would have to replumb their house to have the plumbing redone in order to have it come out in their frontage. When it was installed, it was on their property. And when the A&R was done for 34, the sewer line was not shown. Paula has taken that forward with the planning board to try to make sure that we get sewer lines on all the A&R's requests. So that's how it happened. We're waiting on paperwork. 34 Northfield was a legal connection. They connected to sewer because it was on the property, so they weren't being held to cease and desist because they were putting in a legal connection. It's a connection from '05 that we're dealing with.
So
So
we're
it's
waiting,
just a heads up. Yeah,
Right.
we're waiting on paperwork.
we're waiting on paperwork. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, there has to be a public meeting.
Right.
Or we can vote
Right.
on that.
They
So,
will submit a waiver request and we will post a public hearing.
okay,
There's still, I mean, they could also potentially buy a portion of the property, so we don't know what the decision
Right.
is. So,
so the ball's in their court right now.
right,
Okay.
but we'll keep up on it. We'll follow it. Is that all right? Moving on.
Yep, let's move on.
Munilink, the billing software that Paula had presented several months ago before billing. She's fallen into that world. We've scheduled a presentation to Heather, the collector, and the town accountant to show them the Unilink service on actually next week. So I'm trying to still move forward with that. I do also just need to correct something from the last meeting, that the Munis system that we use for our billing is being upgraded in the February-March timeframe. So we would be moving forward with Unilink with their understanding that Munis will be updated, but it's not until almost spring. So question for council. This is just something I'm going to pursue. It had come up in just regards to an article that I had read to take a look at the regs, but I just want to run it by council. But speaking of clay pipes in Leominster, there have been some towns that will require, if clay pipe is in existence on a property, that they are required to replace it at the time before a sale. So I'd already gone to council about an inspection of like illegal connections, roof drains, sump pumps, to be done prior to sale. So run it by council, and it's just all in concert with the regulations update. Now that the bylaw has been approved, we can move forward with all the policy changes that we had been looking at and that went on hold while the bylaw was at the attorney general's. So I'll pursue it with council, but just wanted to let you know that, hopefully we might get a resolution somehow slowly as each property sells.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions for Barbara on that? No? Okay, Barbara.
Okay.
Go ahead, Barbara.
FY23, I was hoping I'd have an update. It's just I did not get to it. So there's no update at this time. I have one invoice just for your review and acknowledgement. We did replace the control panel on Mass 3 that where Al is going through these pump stations that have the probes that constantly cause issues.
Yeah.
So this is the third control panel that has been done. The total is 5984.43, which matches the quote and the estimate that has been provided. So with your approval, I have put that through for payment. It was encumbered also from FY22, so you had already kind of given it a nod. And that's all I have.
Okay. No, I don't remember, Barbara. Is that something I have to initial?
I can just say it was reviewed. Normally, if we were in person, it would be, chair would initial it. I have just notated on these invoices that the invoice was reviewed at the, September 13th meeting of the commission.
Okay.
Okay,
Um,
you're in favor.
okay, hold on just a second. Does anyone have any action items?
I actually have one small one. I would like
Sure.
to inform the commission and let everybody know that I will not be available for the September 27th meeting. I'm going to be away with family on vacation. So just to, in the interest of making sure you have a quorum, I won't be available.
You could join us remotely, Brett.
As much as that would mean the world to me, and I appreciate the invite, I'm hoping to be looking at the bottom of several empty glasses of beverages instead.
All right, appreciate you letting us know ahead of time.
Thank you. Mixed with some Mickey Mouse.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Brett, you deserve it. You worked hard this year. Have fun.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
Any other action item? No, okay. Any public comment from the public? I don't see anyone left out there. Any public comment from anyone else?
The chair, I have one question for Bill. Bill, can you tell us what you got from the town? What kind of gift you got?
What kind of gift I got?
Yeah, in the conference room.
Oh, I forgot.
Ask me again. I don't understand.
What did you get from in the conference room from?
Oh, yes. It's called an owl. It's a speaker and it's a camera it's a 360-degree camera for meetings like this. And it'll show the entire room, and then whoever's talking, the camera will go to. So it can bounce all around. And at the same time, there's a device that will let you broadcast your laptop up onto the TV screen that's in the room so everybody could see it. So for meetings like this, it would be pretty helpful.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
allow some people to be in person.
Yeah.
Did you get a new TV or no?
No,
No, we gotta get you a bigger TV.
it might be useful.
Well, you gotta monitor the weather channel. So. Okay. Thanks, Bill.
Okay, any other public comment? No, okay, we've got two upcoming meetings, the September 27th and October. As of now, they'll both be via Zoom. Does anyone want to make a motion for an adjournment?
Hamburger, electricity, or the United Nations Army.
Where's Mike? That's what he does.
I will make a motion to adjourn at, well, we'll say 8 o'clock. Not that accurate, but.
All right, anyone want to second that?
Also, interesting tribes.
Brett, this is you.
I can't hear. I was actually going to ask Jane if you could put your speaker on mute. I'm having trouble hearing what's being said.
Oh, sorry, you're hearing the husky. He wants to eat.
I thought that was my stomach, Brett. That's all right.
Yeah.
What was
Yeah,
the question,
Brett,
Dave?
Mike made a motion to adjourn the meeting. We need someone to second it.
Oh, I'd be happy to second that. Thank you.
Any discussion around that? No? Let's take a vote. Mike?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
And I for myself, the meeting is closed. Thank you all.
Good night.
Thank you.
Lou.
Thanks, Barb.
Thank you.
No
Thank you,
problem.
everybody. Thanks,
So
Barb.
Barb, I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Sounds good.
Breakfast. Pancake breakfast.
No.
There you go. Bye,
All
everybody.
right. Night.
Good night.